Welcome back, and what an absolute cracking round it was. We had rivalries, we had upsets, we had boilovers, we had people trying to fight each other on the field, but we're here to talk about the NRL action. We're here with Baxter, mate. How are you doing today?
Mate, I'm doing terrific. What about you, man?
Oh, I mean, we beat our arch rivals, so it's a very good week. And on the switching code to the round ball, we had another good win in that rivalry too. But we're here to talk about the NRL, so we're going to pop the first one up on the screen. I'll let you go through this one. It was Thursday night. It was Manly taking on now the 0-3 Parramatta Eagles. Talk to me about it.
Look, this is a good contest, bar the last 20 minutes from a Manly point of view, because I think if you're a Manly fan, all your toes and your fingers have got no toenails or fingernails left. Could have gone either way at the end, but Manly prevailed in the end. 6 tries apiece for both, but the boot for the Manly Eagles actually worked. More so, the errors, they're high, 14 apiece. But, you know, I've just found it funny that Parramatta, they're staring down the barrel of a 3. This is before game. They're staring down a barrel of an 0-3 start. They extend their coach to be the longest serving coach for Parramatta Eels, and he's made one he's made one grand final appearance in 10 years. He's got a halfback who hasn't committed yet. You know, he still has that player option for 2024. He did promise that he was going to make it by round 1. We are now at the end of round 3, and the decision hasn't been made yet. So I think there's still just things going around inside his head and around the team's heads that they're a bit off. You know, they've lost Ryan Madison. It is what it is, but something needs to change at Parramatta. They lost two really good experienced players, and they just haven't recruited, I believe, in right replacements for him. And look, this is not a time to bash Brad as a person, because I think he's a great player his skill is to identify a great player at a cheaper price to make him as good. You know, you could have spent $1 million on Cameron Smith, so to say, but he'll find a $300,000 hooker who's coming through, and he'll make him into, you know, one of the best we'll be seeing with Reid Mahoney. So something's got to change there. But Manly, they need to stick where they're going. Josh Schuster looked good in the 6, but defence a bit poor towards the end.
Yeah, 100%. I've got to agree with you here now. Obviously, you speak about Ryan Madison, who will return this week, and you say the club, something needs to change. And for me, maybe it's that culture. If a player is going to take a $3,000 fine or a $4,000 fine, whatever it was, instead of a 3-week suspension, he's not going to take that fine. It says that the players aren't buying 100% into what Brad Arthur's saying. So an extension of the contract. Did they want to go to Moses? Listen, he's a coach. He's got to be our coach for X amount of years. That's your future if you wish to stay. We don't know exactly what's going on there. But like I said, for Mitchell Moses, in the eyes of the NRL, he's doing everything as he can. He can look for those better offers. He can try and get those better offers. I think if you're a Parramatta fan, you want that deal done very quickly, or you want him gone so you can start looking at players moving on. But Manly, Para, it was a good game. Again, a lot of points to give up. If you would have told me that Para were going to score 30 points on a Thursday night down at 4 Pines Park, I would have said they're going to get the win. But instead, this is the 3rd week in a row where they've showed they can score points, but then they're copying absolute terrible results. So, Baxter, you look like you have something that you want to bring up.
I just have 2 things. Now, listening to James Graham podcast, now he's brought up that Ryan Madison apparently was sort of rushed into a decision about whether to cop the 4 games or the fine. And he basically admitted it takes you 0.01 second to decide what you want. Games are fine. And he showed it, and that was it. Like, he just straight away said fine. He's not going to dog his mates in a time of need. But
he did dog his mates.
No. I'm saying he wouldn't dog his mates in a time of need.
Oh, yeah.
I'm talking from James Cameron point of view. But also, if I was to tell you a team's going to score 30 points and lose, isn't that more worrying signs? Like you can score, but you also, from both teams here that, you can score big points, but also let in sort of the same amount of points as well. And
it's a bit concerning. Like year in, year out, the team that wins the premiership usually is one of the best, if not the best, three defensive teams in that year. So if you're looking at both these teams, Manly, you go, thank God that game's over. We've gone home with the 2 points. Parramatta, we don't have much time to ponder. We've got Penrith coming up. Then we've got the Roosters. We could be 0-5 if we don't turn it around. But for Manly, I think Trebojevic looked a lot better. He looked like he was getting more comfortable. He's looking like he can get back to his best very soon, which is a very worrying sign for the rest of the competition. Schuster, he offered a lot in attack, but like you said, in defense, he did struggle. So that's something they're going to want to figure out.
Yep.
Does he give 100% in attack and leak tries like we saw here and win a game 34-30, or does he offer a little bit less in attack and really start to work on that defense? But we'll see what it is. A good win for Manly, a not so good result for Parramatta, but it is what it is. It's early days. I'm not going to say Parramatta season's done at 0-3. We'll see what happens over the next couple of weeks before we make that call. But let's move into the Friday night games now. Obviously, the Knights 20 went down to the Dolphins 36. It was an interesting game. I was actually driving into Allianz Stadiums to watch the next match that we're about to talk about. And I was listening to this game on the radio. I jumped in the car at about halftime and I was shocked. Knights were sticking around. Now, I'll ask you this question. Talk to me about the game, but are Knights that team that can bring you down to that shithousery level of play and make you play at that level? And again, was this just, again, the Dolphins class showing through? And then talk to me about Kafusi, because we do have an update on that as well.
I just think that's how they want to play. They want to bring you down to their level and play their game football while bringing you down and making you feel uncomfortable in your own skin, so to say. Newcastle, you look at everything bar the last on their errors. 3 tries, 3 from 3 from the boot, 1 from 1 for the penalty goal, 7-2 completion rate, but the errors, 16 errors. You can't afford to put those sort of numbers up and then complete at make errors at a higher rate and actually win games there. So, like, I don't know who was really kicking for the Dolphins. I wasn't really paying attention, but 4 from 7. Yes, it's sort of a C plus for the night, but you got to do better, and you want to, because in the long run, you add 6 extra points to that. That's an extra another 6 points onto this 16 point margin. It comes down. We saw last year. It comes down to for and against in some games towards the back end of the season, and I think you got to, instead of going up by 4s, you got to go up by 6s. You said you wanted to touch on the Khalees Kafusi. I'll let you touch on that. But overall, it was a really exciting game. It sets it up for a thriller this weekend. Dolphins beat Broncos. But I also have a little thing to say. Now, we talk about the 2015 Cowboys being 0-3, 3 straight losses and winning the grand final. Newcastle Knights were also 4 wins on the trot and ended up winning last place that year. So premierships aren't won in March or April, as we're getting into, but they surely can help. So every point counts, and I think Knights players are feeling this one a little bit.
Yeah, 100%. Now, obviously, like you said, the kick-in is a bit of a worry for Jermaine Asako, but he did have to kick, I think, 5 or 6 of these from the sideline. So, yes, he probably should have done better in this game, but like we've seen with like the likes of Sam Walker, he might start off very low. He might get that better towards the back end of the season. Hopefully, it doesn't cost you a final spot, but that is obviously something that could happen if you are going up by 4s. But I think for me, and we will touch on the Kafusi, I'm bringing that into this point, but the most disappointing part for me was the Knights. Kafusi goes in, he hits Jackson Hastings late, they go down a player, he's in the sin bin, and you lose that period 12-0. If you have a player up, you should not, in any instance, no matter who you are playing, be losing that 10-minute period 12-0. So they were in there, and I think for them, yes, Jackson Hastings went off at the same time, which does hurt their attack, but you should not be losing 12-0, surely. That's my opinion. You should not be losing when you're up a player.
Well, we bring it back to the round ball here, Tony. I've seen teams go down to 10, nine players even, and pull off a magic result, whether it be conceding nothing or even equalising or winning the game.
That's a park the bash, snatch and grab. That's not what the Dolphins did. They went out and scored 12 points. They went out
that's
and
what I'm saying.
dominated.
I think they've realised that they've lost their key player in Kafusi, and they actually stood up and exposed a weakness in the Knights being a bit shaky. Look, the Knights may have not been prepared for Hastings to go off, and they didn't really have a plan B for that, and that's why they looked a bit not themselves. They really didn't look themselves during that 10-minute period when Kafusi was off, and Jackson Hastings was also. So I think they need to find a backup half in case something like this happens, because as amazing as Jackson Hastings is, I just they need to look for backups.
Yeah, no, obviously talking about Kafusi, he did obviously this evening plead guilty at around 5:30. He pleaded guilty to a dangerous contact on Hastings. However, he was seeking a downgrade from grade 2 to grade 1. So for those that haven't been following it, if he was successful, it would have resulted in a fine. However, he has been deemed unsuccessful, and he will now obviously miss the sold-out derby against Brisbane, but he will also miss 3 weeks after that. So he has been upgraded to a 4-week fine. Now, it's on my head. I'm a Rooster supporter. We spoke about this off air. Suaalii's was a lot worse. Maybe not a lot worse, but I thought, A, there was a lot more force. B, okay, yes, they want to argue that Suaalii couldn't see the pass because of how it was come, but is this another instance of a bad reputation? You're a forward, not a centre, regardless of how big you are, hitting someone off guard? Because for me, it was a split second. I don't think Kafusi could have pulled out of this. I thought 100% it was going to get downgraded to a fine or at least lowered to 1 week. But is this just the instance of a bad reputation and that obviously forward taking on a half?
Suaalii's was comparing the two tackles. Suaalii's is way worse because he's gone in there while Chaz has got his back to him. He's let go of the ball. He's relaxed. And he's like, I think you could make an argument that Suaalii saw the ball go and he could have sort of not put as much force into it. But, that the Suaalii's was really worse compared to the two. That was worse than Kafusi's because I think they stated in the judiciary, he was like a meter away and he had no time to pull out. And if Jackson Hastings did a show and go, it would have been a good tackle. It would have been a great tackle, and it would have been safe. So maybe this is like pride charges creeping up on you, which shouldn't happen in the game. Really, like every incident should be judged on its own merits. And look, he's fought, he's lost. He's going to spend the next 4 weeks on the sideline. He'll be sadly missed this weekend against the Broncos.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Obviously, we'll report more of this when we do team lists because I know part of the defense they did bring up the Suaalii tackle. So we'll look into a little bit more of that, and we will talk about that when we do get to the Dolphins game this week. But again, they're 3-0. They're flying at the moment. They've got a game against a sold-out stadium against Brisbane coming up. So it'll be interesting to see how this team keeps rolling. But again, I throw you back to last year when everyone was on the same hype train for the Newcastle Knights, and they finished towards the bottom of the table. Now, I hope it doesn't happen for them, but we'll see what happens. But let's move into the second Friday night game. It was the Roosters 20 defeating the Rabbitohs 18. I was at this game. I rocked up. I think it was just after the first try went over, and I sent a message and went, man, I should have just gone home. I shouldn't have rushed from training. 2 seconds later, they're over in the corner again, and we're down 10-0. So it didn't start very good for the Roosters. Both players had some players coming back. Both players had still players missing, but most notably, Hargraves, Brandon Smith start on the bench. They come on and I don't think we're ever going to agree that Dally M. I thought Hargraves was the reason we won this game, yet he doesn't get any Dally M points for this game. But Brandon Smith's comes off the bench. He scores that try. Luke Keary pops his head up, puts a kick over the top. Daniel Tupu scores, and we look like we're going to be locked up to 12-4. In comes Sam Walker. Now, I'll ask you this question. Do you agree with a referee giving 6 again if someone comes off the line? However, if it doesn't result... So, Did you watch his part? Did you watch his penalised that I'm talking about?
I actually turned this game off after the first try was scored because I was like, "Yep, it's done, it's dusted." You and being late to games is just hand in hand. So I was like, "Right, South have won it. It's early Friday night. I've got things to do the next day, so I'm going to call it an early night. And I'll try and watch the replay." So I didn't catch this highlight. So you're gonna have to walk me through this.
Well, I'll tell you what, I might get late to some games, and that one wasn't my fault. That was traffic when me and you went to that Roosters-Cowboys game. But, however, this game I did finish training at 7 o'clock in Smithfield, so I did a very good job to only miss 5 minutes of this game. So you want to say I missed a game, I say it's committed as hell. But you know how Sam Walker, he always comes off his line a little bit early to stop the players from going that way?
Oh, yep.
So
yeah,
he steps off his line. The ball gets thrown 3 or 4 times. Someone else tackles whoever had the ball, and the ref goes, instead of the 6 again, we're going to give you a penalty because you have obstructed the chances of scoring. So it's kind of like a referee going, I think they were going to score, so we're going to give a penalty. I'm fine with it. I said when this rule came out that Sam Walker was going to give away multiple penalties, but what are your thoughts on players leaving the line early to try and stop, I guess, a try and give away a penalty? Doesn't need a harsher sentence?
Well, I think the penalty's fine due to the fact that, like, you're coming off that line to shut down that side of the play. So you're virtually forcing the attack to go the opposite way, and that might be a play for the Roosters and any other team who are using this quite well, happily to give away a pen because, okay, on Sam Walker's side, they may have Latrell Smith coming off Campbell Graham with Cody Walker wrapping around the other side. So it could have been a play to go, all right, the heavyweights on this side, I'll just creep up on my line. Cookie sees that and wants to go the other way, and it sort of shuts down that play. Look, tactically, I like it, but it is sort of a no-no. So I'm happy with the pen and keep on.
Yeah, so obviously after that, it did go 12-10 into the break. The Roosters came out in the second half. Jackson Paulo, or Parlo, however he does want to say it these days, does get 2 tries against his former club. I guess we've all seen it. We know there's a 1-week suspension for Joey Manu. He did get it right the first time he tried in the game where he stopped a for certain try. But what do you make of that Joey Manu incident? Like, he's been given 1 week. I think that's fair. I don't think anyone's going to complain with that. Do you think, I guess, the overreaction was justified, or do you think that was just South Sydney? They're not winning the game. Things aren't going right, and it's kind of just that boil over of that rivalry and that hype leading up to the competition?
I think it's a bit of everything. I think it's the incident itself. Like, let's take it. It's a South. Let's just say it's Roosters, Warriors. Let's just throw that team out there. I think you probably get the same reaction with the same incident, but not to a degree that it is, because it is South and it is Roosters. Cody Walker, tends to lose his head when it comes to not getting his own way and things aren't working for his team. I think he's one of the players that is easily quickly to lose his head when things aren't going his way. So, was it justifiable? I say yeah, because it's the rivalry. Did anything really come out of it? Not really. Like from the aftermath of the tackle, so it's just handbags being thrown, and it's just part of the game now. No one's going to throw a punch unless it's really called for. And the tackle itself, I'm happy with the one week, even if it was a fine, or like it wasn't really any malice in it. But as I said, there's always going to be carryover bullshit going on.
Yeah, 100%. Now, obviously, you talk about Cody Walker and his hot head. If you look at the scheme of things and you look at this game being 20-18, I take you back to the first Joey Manu. They break down the side after a bell from Latrell. Johnston throws it inside. Now, Manu comes in. He jumps at last second. He knocks the ball or knocks the hand of the ball carrier. Sam Walker picks it up, runs 30 meters across the field, passes the ball. What does Cody Walker do? He doesn't set himself back in the line. He chases Sam Walker for 35 meters until he passes it, pushes him over, concedes a penalty. 2 tackles later, Jackson Paulo's in the corner. So, like you said, if he can just get his head on straight, I think, like we've seen, he could be an absolute great player. But these constant brain snaps, I think it was when they played Penrith, he tried to palm someone in the face, tripped over the ball, and lost the ball due to knock on at the play the ball. So these little brain snaps, if I'm Demetrio, I'm going in there going, would you just play football? Don't worry about hitting anyone. If someone hits you, walk away. If someone pushes you, walk away. Don't buy into it because, like you said, this game right here now, it's cost them the game. But quite quickly before we move on, let's talk about Jackson Paulo quite quickly. Clarkie's column, they wrote this after the game. It said, let me take you back to 18th of August, round 23, 2022. It's the Bunnies going up against the Panthers. Young Jackson Paulo had a night to forget with 5 errors. Many South fans blamed him for the loss. A selected few took it one step further and sent him death threats.
Yep.
Subsequently, Paulo leaves the club. First time playing against his club, he scores 2 tries, and he runs for the most meters of any Roosters back player. So, obviously, massive props to Paulo. For me, I'm glad he's excelling. I'm glad he's pushing on, but definitely good to see that he's at a club where he does feel like he does belong and he's not copying those death threats. I'd say not yet, but I hope they don't come at all because I know every single fan has a fan, or every single club has fans like that. So, moving on to the Saturday, I'll throw it to you first. Titans 38, Storm 34. Talk to me about that game.
It's a take away the errors. It is a great game. Only 2 penalty goals are the difference between these two teams. But when you're erring that much and coughing up that many points, is this an end to an era? I've been dreaming of this day where, a team this high has been riding the wave of success and just chilling at the top. Doesn't have to be at the top. It could be top 2, top 4. And now slowly but surely they're just starting to crash back down to earth. And as I said in the Manly Para game, you score 34 points, yet you lose. It blew my mind. Their completion rate wasn't the best. Probably a C plus at best with that 63%. No better than the Titans, but as I said, this is just a 2-point penalty goal. The difference because you take them away, it's going into golden point, and golden point leads to anything happening. So, man, it was just funny to see that a team, as I said, riding so high, can put on 34 points but lose, especially to the Titans. Because if it was like a few years ago, that 38 would be to the Storm, and it would be 4 points or even nothing for the Titans. So how the times have changed, then it was one to just sit back and relax and watch, because 12 tries in this game, I think I was trying to have a drink per try, and I got to the point where I just had to stop at halftime and say, no more.
Well, he was trying to have a drink per game. This game was on Saturday, and he's just woken up in time to do the podcast now. So we don't recommend that game at the Gone for 10 show. Please, obviously, drink responsibly. But yeah, the Storm were 1 try away from creating history, and it would have been the most points scored in a loss. So they do fall just below that. I think this puts him in about 6th or 7th position. Yeah, like we said, not too much separates it. 2 penalty goals separates it. For me, it's the errors, 17-13. You don't usually see a team in Melbourne under Bellamy create more than 10 errors. This wasn't 10. This was 17. So I think the press conference said it all. He said a lot of players just don't seem to care. So I'm sure there will be a reaction from that. I thought there would be a reaction of players come out and saying, hold up, we're here to change. But Bellamy definitely threw that to him by saying it looks like they don't care. So we'll see what happens. All rumours accounts, he's being named. Cameron Munster will be back this week. we are refreshing. We will give you an update on, obviously, if Jerome Hughes does get off his charge, but we do know Cameron Munster will line up this week. Baxter, is the footage in that you're saying no? Or
No, there's nothing at the moment. The Storm are pleading their case with image after image and video after video of past incidents on Jerome Hughes. So more as that comes to date.
Yeah, more as it comes, but we will leave this one here. For me, again, the Titans, if you beat Melbourne, let's be quite honest. If the Titans beat Melbourne like they have here, I don't think they would have cared how many points they conceded as long as they beat Melbourne. So I don't really think the Titans care. Their record improves. That's now 2-1 on the season. They're looking like they're getting a little bit better each week. But my main concern of this squad is for years we've been saying, yes, we know they can attack. They're flamboyant. They can score freakish tries. They can go 100 meters. They need to fix their defense. And they still haven't fixed their defense. So we'll see how that goes over the next couple of weeks. For Melbourne, I'm still not going to write them off. Cameron Munster, when he does put them on his back, they're a completely different team. So maybe if someone wants to take one for the teams and just injure Munster and make this a lot easier for all of us.
No, do not injure my boy. Do not injure my boy. He needs to stay fresh to Origin. Let's just keep him good.
Well, if you want to injure him just for the Origin period, I'll also be thankful with Baxter again, like you said. Great result for the Titans, poor result for Melbourne. A lot of questions for them to answer going into this week where they play the Tigers. And God help yourself if you're a Tigers fan because it could be a tough one. But let's move on. I'll throw it to you. It's your boys taking on the Warriors.
Yeah.
All right, and let's move on to the next game. That's a great explanation.
Look, let's be honest. The first half was good. We come out. They score a couple of quick tries, and I think it was like the 61st minute that they scored to make it this 24-12. And I was at a sort of a tipping comp celebration for last year, and I was around other people who just turned to me and said, "And you said the Cowboys were going to win," and I went, "Well, there's like 20 minutes left to go, and really we only need two converted tries to be back in the game." And this score continued out for it. And yeah, as we touch on again, as we say, errors 12-10, not the best handling from us nor from them, but the completion rate's high. We're 3/4 of the way, they're 8/10 of the way. Kicks are good. It could have been more from the Warriors, but thankfully not. But again, I think you touched on it in the last. I think in the preview. Maybe the Warriors have climatized. Maybe their trips away are starting to look more impressive. They looked impressive in a losing game against the Roosters last week. They look impressive even again this week, and they get the 2 points and now sit 2-1 on the ladder. I forget who they got coming up against, but it puts them in a good set of mind for this weekend. And mate, Andrew Webster, the Penrith assistant coach, is doing wonders, and finally the Warriors have found a voice of what a Warrior needs to be. Back to you.
What you talk about Andrew Webster, so lick your lips because at Mount Smart Stadium you will see Andrew Webster take on Serrato this weekend. So the battle of the ex-Panther coaches, assistant coaches, will go head to head. But like you said, the Warriors seem to almost have, I guess, what we've been calling for years. They're good in attack. They're resilient in defense. They're muscle up. They're strong in defense. I think I was heading to the city while this game was going on, and same thing you did. I was refreshing my phone, and I was going, oh, okay, like it's 6-0. Okay, it's 12-6. Like they'll come back. Cowboys are going to come back.
Yeah.
And each time you refreshed it, you just went, okay, shit. Okay, all right. And then the Warriors won. So a massive upset, and not even just an upset in itself, a major upset for them to do that, obviously at the home of the Cowboys. So I think that's probably the biggest thing to take away from this result. If they beat you at Mount Smart Stadium, I don't think we're so shocked by this result, given they went up to Queensland, they went up to Townsville, they bullied you in your own backyard. I think that's the biggest problem here. But nonetheless, the Cowboys will probably due a loss, and if you're a Cowboys fan, if you're the Cowboys coaching staff, you take this loss now and you use it to build on momentum, because the last thing you want to do is go and win 40-0 every week and then you get to a final and something else changes and you don't know how to adapt to that. So Obviously,
Yeah.
Warriors fans, give us a haka, give us whatever you
Yeah.
want. Jump in the fins. I'm
I'll
sure
give you a clap.
Jackson.
I'll give you a clap.
Yeah, I'm sure Jackson, obviously, Jacko, jump in here. Let us know what you think in the comment section. But obviously, a great result nonetheless. But we'll move on to the next game of Super Saturday. It was the Brisbane Broncos taking on the Dragons. It's almost scary. I don't know if I should be concerned that the Broncos played so shit or concerned that they could put that many points on in a 10-minute period. Now, for those of you that weren't watching this game, this score was locked up with about, I think it was 11 minutes to go. Fast forward 11 minutes later, and the Broncos are 40 to 18 up. Now, in the first half, you're sitting here going, Ben Hunt, everything he does turns to gold. In the second half, you're going, does Adam Reynolds have the best kicking game in this competition? So it's definitely a split. But obviously, like it says there, 7 tries for 3, 4 of those were in 10 minutes, 5 from 7, 2 from 3, 1 from 2 from the penalties. Completion rate, they both completed with very, very high completion, which I think if you're either coach, you're going to be positive about that. And the errors were both below 10. So something else you can be excited about. But for Brisbane, they found a way. And I think for the Broncos, after what happened last year, they were flying. They just missed out on finals. If you can find a way to get a result, you can find a way. So what did you make of this? And I remember you said you did have some news, obviously, on the Dragons and their coaching staff moving forward.
Yeah, well, I think you touched it at halftime. Dragons are up 16-8 at halftime. Adam Reynolds slots his 2-point field goal, the first for the year, for the season. As you said, Ben Hunt looks a magician in that 7 jersey. And then the Broncos came out and sort of blew them away. Is this a tale of two halves for the Dragons, or is this just last week they came off the bye, they had an extra week rest, so they looked fresher against another team, and now they're back to the poor old Dragons. But apparently it's been confirmed that the Dragons board have contacted Anthony Griffin, the Dragons coach. They've already told him they're looking at avenues for head coaching roles for 2024 and beyond. Anthony Griffin at the moment, I believe, still has this year and next year to go, but they're happily to pull the trigger and kill his second year and let him go early. His response, I believe, was he wants to see out the season and see where the results lie and make a judgment call at the end of the year.
Sorry, I'll just jump in there quickly. He's actually put out now, but he's going to reapply for the position. So they aren't saying 100% they're going to get rid of him, but he is having to apply for that position from 2024 onwards.
This is twice now that the same board have actively come out and said, look, we're going to look for elsewhere. They did even an internal review of whether he should stay on, and they went to all these other coaches and said, do you want to be a coach of the St. George of the Royal Dragons? Do you want to be? And apparently they come back to the answer of, Anthony Griffin's the best person for the job, and he was still in the job. Like, I don't think anybody wants to touch this team at the moment, given that their salary cap issues and the squad that they have. They tried to play money ball last year. Yes, it worked in the short period, but in the long term, no, it did not, because they had to get rid of a lot of players due to their big wage demand later on. I don't understand. I know this is one of the few teams in the NRL that has a sort of a merge board with the St. George and the Illawarra Oilers merging together, and they go one wants to go this way, one wants to go this way, and they just can't seem to agree as a united front on who should be leading this team going forward. Now, honestly, look, it's only round 3 and they've won one, lost one. Give the man a break. Give it till Magic Round. Like if come Magic Round, you're looking at a team that has had the bye and 8 losses and 1 win, then then give him the flick and then appoint someone in the interim to figure out for 2024. To say it like we're not even in April yet, and they're actively looking for a new head coach. Just alarm bells ringing, and if I was Anthony Griffin, wouldn't be reapplying for the head role of the St. George Illawarra Dragons.
Yeah, 100%. Now, I did do a bit of digging why you were discussing that, and he is off contract at the end of this year. So that is why he will have to reapply. That is why they're not saying we're going to get rid of him. They're just saying we might go in a different direction come the end of the season. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Like you said, if I'm Anthony Griffin, I'm getting as far away from this bombshell, I guess, decision, because if I'm your head coach and you can't say you got the spot to interview A, B, C, D, E, three rounds into a season, well, I'm not your first choice, so I'm looking elsewhere. But obviously, we'll see what happens. We'll keep you updated week to week as that does unfold. Some good names, obviously, looking at Jason Riles, who's been an assistant to two great coaches so far. Some big names up there, and definitely some young names out there that could come in and take that position. But let's move into the Sunday games. It was the Bulldogs 26-22 against the Tigers. Now, this result, this scoreboard definitely makes the Tigers look like they played a lot better in this game. But just like what happened to the Dragons, the Bulldogs fell asleep for 10 minutes and the Tigers put on 2 to 3 tries. They brought this game close. They had their chances to win it, but looking at the tail of the tape, it was conversions that ended up deciding this game. So 4 from 4 for the Bulldogs, 3 from 4 from the Tigers, and a penalty goal did decide this game. But again, for me, if I'm a Bulldogs fan, I'm looking at the first 60 minutes, 55-60, and I'm going, we're back. The Dogs of War are back. We're ready to fight. Birdo looked good in this game. Addo-Carr, pacey as always. The forwards battled. Flanagan's looking good, and we're in for a good season. Then I'm looking at the last 20 minutes, and I'm going, holy shit, it's the Bulldogs of old. We're in trouble here. We're in trouble. This is the last 3 seasons. We can't hold a lead. We can't defend. We let the Tigers score 22 points. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of teams, probably even the big top 8 teams that are going to concede a lot of points to the Tigers this year at some point. But if you're a Bulldogs fan, it's very concerning to let this many points slip so quickly. But for the Tigers, you showed some heart for about 20 minutes. You pulled in. So I guess to an extent, you have to take positives out of this game. You were able to score points. You were able to stay in it towards the back end. You still had a chance, but 0-3 games. Some tough games coming up. They play Melbourne next. What do you make of these two sides, and what do you make about this game moving forward?
Yeah, again, this game was good to watch. Kyle Flanagan, 5 from 5 from the boot. Dewey, 3 from 4. This game really could have gone either way because there was a chance for Johnny Bateman to get his name on the score sheet, and that would have put him in front because there was only, I think, 10 on the left-hand side of the post. So puts a little chip in for himself, knocks it on in the young goal area. Could have been a try. That could have propelled him forward. But nonetheless, Birdo and Addo-Carr looked fucking on fire in Belmore at the Belmore ground. And again, a worrying sign. You can, from a Tigers point of view, you can score 22 points yet lose. And you look at the Roosters who, scored 20 and won. So you're not out of that ballpark of attacking wise options. Like, you're really good. I think you've knuckled down your attack there. As it's just come across my desk, Tigers have got Storm, Broncos, Eels, Manly, and Panthers. Do I see them winning any of those games? Unfortunately not. And I see them staring at I don't know if they have the bye before Magic Round, but maybe a 0-10 to start the season. And this is just Tigers of old. Tigers of old.
Yeah, now I believe, and I will look this up, I believe they do have a bye in between the West Tigers versus Eels and the West Tigers versus Manly. But I will obviously check that up. We will confirm that. But like you said, taking away to bye, everybody gets that. This is a team that could be sitting, 1-8, 1-9 if you want to bring the bye into it. But they could be sitting 8 games played, 0 wins, which is very concerning when you think this is a team that recruited well in the offseason. You brought in Api Coruscant. Fans looked at a team that came 16th last year and said, look at the signings. We're making them. This is a whole different thing. And you're sitting lower than what you did last year after all these magical signings. So it's a scary time ahead if you're a Tigers fan. And like I've heard from a few different Tigers fans, I've heard they've jumped on the bandwagon of the Dolphins. So we'll see if they jump back, if they could somehow pull a few results. But again, Storm, I see them getting absolutely pummeled this week. Broncos, Eels, Manly, Panthers. If you're going to win one of those games, who knows, the way Parramatta's playing, it might be that game.
Might be this weekend with the way the Storm are playing. Like I said that
I'm not a betting man, but I'm not a betting man. But if you gave me $1 million to 1, I'm probably still not going to take the Tigers against Melbourne this weekend. But good signs to finish the game. Good signs to finish the game. Bateman played, which was a good sign. Luke Brooks looked a bit better this week. So some positives, but a lot of negatives coming out of this game and moving forward. But let's move into the final game of the round. It was the Raiders 24 defeating the Nico Heinless Sharks 20. He is back this weekend. But talk to me about this game. It was a cracking game, end to end. And again, it kind of had that feel about the Cowboys. I kept saying, Sharks will come back. Sharks will come back. Sharks will come back. Raiders get the job done. So what did you make of this game?
Yeah, I think this is a tough loss to swallow for the Sharks. You're 2 from 4 from the boot, which is the only thing that let you down. 4 tries apiece for both teams, both completing at a very high rate, 78 to 87%. Possession, and then the errors. I think this is the first time we could say both teams are in single digits. You're only erring 5, but you're still losing by two conversion goals. So I think if you add Nico Hines, maybe a try isn't scored against them, but they're kicking at 100%, and we could have seen a totally opposite result here with the Sharks running away with it. The 2 points back to Cronulla, but glad to see Ricky's got the monkey off his back, unlike other teams that we've already covered, and he's already got his win. So I think they're partying down there in the capital tonight.
Yeah, 100%. Now, someone probably not partying in the capital tonight is Daniel Levy, who did have his jaw broken. What they are doing, I don't know if they found it over the last 24 hours, but they're looking for his missing tooth. So we all hope that he is okay. He does have a broken jaw, and we do hope, obviously, that recovery goes well and we see him back on the pitch sooner rather than later. But Baxter, I'm going to get you to quickly jump on your phone because I know you kept record of it and let us know who is leading and the score for our little back-to-back competition. And while you're doing that, I'm going to run us quickly through the NRL ladder. So first you have the Broncos, second the Dolphins, third Manly, fourth the Warriors, fifth Panthers, sixth Titans, seventh the Roosters, eighth the Bulldogs, ninth the Dragons, 10th the Rabbitohs, 11th the Raiders, 12th Sharks, 13 you have Melbourne, 14 Newcastle, 15th Cowboys, 16th Eels, and 17th West Tigers. So a big battle of first and second this week. But Baxter, did you have that competition up?
I don't have it up to date at this current stage, but going into this round with our could say man of the match performances, if you get the most points of the game, you get one vote, and obviously the more points you get throughout the season, the most points of the game, you get another vote. So everybody else is on one at the moment for us. I don't have the Dally M's.
Come on, mate. So I want our competition, not the Dally M. I want our competition, our tipping competition.
Well, our tipping competition. All right. So I actually got a lot of things going on here. Here we go. So round 1, you got 13, I got 13. Round 2, you got 10, I got 7. This round, you got 11, I got 6, which will lead us into a total of 34 for you and 26 for me. But as I said, you can't win premierships in March, but they surely can help at this stage. So we'll just have to wait and see how it is going.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, I knew I was ahead. We've been talking about this all weekend. I thought I'd just have a little bit of fun and make you say it live on the podcast because you got a little bit cocky after that first round when you were up. I think it was 6-1 at some stage, and I slowly kept bringing it back.
Yeah.
But Baxter, with a bit of a lighter note here, obviously our thoughts and prayers do go out to the Sattler family after John Sattler did die at the age of 80. So our thoughts and our prayers here at the Gone for 10 show, from myself, from Baxter, from all of our listeners, obviously that does go out to the Sattler family, and we hope that they can move on from this. They can lay into rest. They can get all those formalities out of the way. And obviously, moving forward, he did have dementia. Moving forward, we kind of just hope that the game identifies ways where they can protect the players so they don't have to go through those in the later stage. But Baxter, we will be back. It has been a long episode. We'll break it up a little bit. We will be back. But, mate, I look forward to tackling the round 4 team list. My team has a bye, so I look forward to doing it stress-free this week. But thank you for joining me, mate. And I'll obviously see you soon when we record team list round 4.
See you then.